Okay, guys. The second video I'm going to do today is on Fowler's faith stages from stage 3 through 6. All right, we already talked about stage 0 to 2, so we're going to kind of move forward in these stages through stages 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to talk about the main characteristics of each stage, its strengths and weaknesses, as well as what prompts the movement from one stage to the next. Just to kind of review, Fowler stages are hierarchical. You go from 0 to 6 in an invariant and sequential pattern. So you're not going to go from stage 2 to stage 4. You're going to go 2, 3, 4. Or you're not going to go from stage 0 to stage 6. That just is kind of interesting. You're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6. We'll talk about why possibly in just a bit. And it's a movement from less to greater complexity and depth and breadth of understanding of faith. And Fowler developed this theory from a variety of different concepts, from developmental theory to role assumption theories to social psychology, things like that. You don't really need to get into the depth of this, but just kind of understand where Fowler kind of pulled the main tenets of his theory from. So let's jump in here and talk about the stages 3 through 6. So this pyramid is good for organizing kind of your thoughts on Fowler's stages. And as well, it kind of gives an idea of how God is viewed in each of these stages. God is a friend in stage 3. God is a principle of truth and love and power in stage 4. And God is a mystery in 5. And stage 6, well, stage 6, it's more of a interconnectedness stage and sort of a stage where people view things as all one and there's meaning in each of us and things of that nature. So let me just pause right here and reiterate that Fowler's faith development stages can sometimes be very challenging to people. They can be, people sometimes are like, well, that makes no sense. I thought that this was supposed to be descriptive of faith development. And it just sounds a lot like Eastern, sort of universalism. Well, it can kind of give that sense, but just like any theory, Fowler's theory can be certain aspects can be taken as true, more true than others, more fleshed out than others, and some aspects may need to be looked at in greater depth. So what I would like for you to do with this theory is I'd like for you to, just like with any other, analyze this critically for yourselves, but don't reject it all out just because you disagree with one particular aspect of it. I've seen people do that, and I see value in aspects of this theory, but just like I've said before, a theory is a skeleton that gives us a foundation to kind of figure out the truth, and this is just like any other theory. All right, so with that disclaimer, let's jump in. Now, age-wise, the synthetic conventional stage typically occurs in late adolescence, early adulthood, around there, when personal development and intimacy and relationships are very key. Individuative reflective faith oftentimes may occur in young to mid-adulthood. Now, notice I said may. A lot of people kind of, I won't say bogged down in stage 3, they kind of just get to stage 3 and they coast, sometimes for the rest of their lives. Some people never make it to stage 4, and it's a rarity for people to make it to stage 5, and it's even more rare for people to make it to stage 6. Now, stage 6, notice I have a question mark here next to it. Stage 6 is very much an ideological goal. it's an ideal to strive for a lot of people, and uh, many believe that it's unobtainable. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. So, what are the characteristics of stage three? Stage three is very interpersonal. We base our faith in stage three around kind of our religious faith community. So, who's in our religious inner circle? Our pastor, youth leaders, maybe our parents. I don't know, maybe parents. At this point, usually parents are more important in like stages 0, 1, and 2. But sorry, somebody just opened the door. Stage 3 through 6, we kind of distance ourselves from those sorts of messages that we received in the past from parents. We typically take those in and apply them in certain ways, but a lot of the stuff that we kind of gain from stage 3 is from our peers, right? So this occurs typically in late adolescence and early adulthood when peer influence is probably at its highest. And we are trying to form a sense of personal identity as in our faith. And so these these interpersonal structures can kind of form a scaffolding around through which we develop. Now, what are the risks of this? Well, let's talk about strengths first, because it's first on the list. The strengths of this are that we do take our past and our present into ourselves, and we kind of internalize those messages and turn it into our own personal belief system. And why is that positive? Well, we're in community with other people. We're open to other ideas. Sometimes, as you'll see in the weaknesses, sometimes these ideas can be very different. Okay, in the openness that we have to these dangerous ideas, or these ideas that perhaps are heretical, can do a lot of damage to our interpersonal relationship with God. God in this stage is viewed as a friend. And that makes sense because, we're at this stage very interpersonally based. So that's how we see God. Now, the transition of this occurs due to contradictions between valued authorities. Okay, and what does that mean? Well, remember that we internalize the judgments of others, and we change our belief system based upon those. Well, think about this. What happens when one perhaps leaves home, a younger person leaves home, early adult, goes to college, and all of the messages that they've heard up to this point are God is love, God, it wants a personal relationship with you, things like that. They get to college and they go into a theology course. And all of a sudden they are bombarded with all sorts of other worldviews, all sorts of other messages that are very contradictory to what they grew up with. They are definitely outside of their comfort zone. And so all of a sudden, they are being buffeted from side to side in their faith, and they're saying, oh gosh, I'm taking in so much, I don't know how to make sense of this, and it's really conflicting with what my pastors and my mom and my youth leader and everybody said whenever I was in high school and in youth group and, coming up as a Christian. What do I do? What do I make of this? And that leads into individuative reflective stage, or the stage 4. And in this stage, this is very much a reaction to all of those new contradictions and the new information that we're getting from this sort of deeper reflection on our faith. And so what do we do whenever we feel like we're out of control, or we feel like we're being bombarded with too much, and we uh, there's too much going on in our minds, we try to consolidate. And that's what stage 4 is. It's the people are trying to put God in a box. They're trying to say, okay, well, what do I believe? There's so much, I can't internalize all of these different messages that I'm hearing from my pastor and this, and them from my professors and other college students or other seminarians or whatever. So they have to consolidate and try to make things nice and neat for themselves again. To do this, they basically say, all right, well, what do I believe? And that emerges an executive ego. It's a, what do I believe? Your messages, I'm going to take some in, but I'm going to check it against what I really think I believe. And this is good because it causes a critical reflection upon oneself and how they view their faith. But it can be dangerous because symbols all of a sudden are separate from their meanings, or such that baptism is just a symbol. It doesn't really have any particular meaning. Some people say it's an outward profession of faith, and you can't be saved without being baptized, and things like that. Or the Eucharist. Well, it's just it's just wine and bread. It's not really the body and blood of Jesus. It's just a symbol for that. And some people in this stage will just be like, symbols, whatever. I get that there are symbols, but they're not, they don't have a strong meaning to me. That's the meaning that they have is what those people believe. Well, what do I believe? And they push away from their ideological communities. They push away from their school, their parents, their church. Some people go through a real crisis of faith in the transition between stage 3 and 4, and they may distance themselves from the church at this point. And there's a real tension between what they believe and what others believe. Okay? So the strengths of this, like I said, they're able to reflect upon themselves and think for themselves and take this in. And they're able to take responsibility for themselves. They're able to say, okay, that's what they believe. This is what I believe. This is my faith. The danger of this is, well, sometimes, we can become overconfident in ourselves. Instead of saying, God is my friend and God is, this or that to me, and in a personal way, we say, well, God is this, God is that, God is that. Boom, boom, boom. God is in a box. And so how can our finite minds truly conceive God and put him into a box? How can the created conceive of the creator? And that's the folly of this stage. So the danger here is just that, the overeagerness to resolve the untidy issues that were presented in the transition point between stages 3 and 4. The symbols are demythologized with no recognition of change or loss. Why is that a danger? Because if there is no symbolism, if there is no meaning to one's faith, what is their faith based upon? If they have no sort of meaning beyond themselves, it's almost like they are trying to make themselves almost in a godlike position by saying, okay, I'm going to transcend other people's meanings, and I'm going to transcend and create my own understanding of this. Now, the transition between stage 4 and 5 occurs when we realize that we're not all that. We can't put God in a box. And the symbols and the paradoxes that are inherent in the mysteries that are inherent in our faith break that box open. And we say, I don't know how to make sense of that. I guess I'm just going to have to accept it, as being a mystery to me. I can't answer it. I don't have all of the answers. And these are some case examples of people's conversions and talking about internalizing their own faith. Well, it kind of describes stages 3 to 4 in a vignette form. So I'll let you guys read those in your own time. Stage 5, the conjunctive faith. Now, once we realize that we are okay with the mystery, that we're okay with understanding God and faith as being mysterious and wonderful in the mystery, we develop what's known as a second naivete, a second awe, a second wonderment at the mystery of creation, at the mystery of faith, and we see and we open up ourselves to other perspectives, and we're accepting of different paradoxes and different mysteries and perspectives on faith and on life and on God and things like that. The truth is, for this stage, multidimensional. And so people at this stage, like I said, it becomes more complex and deeper. So it's not just God is, who I see as all good and all powerful and all this and all that. God is transcendent. God is everywhere. God is in us and works through us and speaks to us, and how he does it, I don't know. But you know what? I'm okay with not knowing. Okay? And the benefit of this is symbols now are important because they are symbols. Symbols have a meaning and a purpose of their own, just by the sheer fact that they're symbols. So the strength of this is we're able to contemplate and participate in deep meanings and understanding the relativity and the gray area of faith, because there are many different faiths. Every person is different in their conceptualization of God, in their understanding and their walk of with their God and faith. Some people are more spiritual. Some people are more fundamentalist. It's okay. We're all walking a different path, in this journey of faith. The problem with this is sometimes we may become overcome by the relativity of it all. We may become overwhelmed by the sense of there's too much gray. And we may become just passive. Oh, well, everything's relative. It's almost a nihilistic way of looking at things. If everything is relative, then where's the foundation? What can I sink my teeth into? Where's the meat? The transition here is where somebody said, you look at the world and you say, there's a whole different world out there, and I need to impact it, and I need to kind of be in a sense of community with my fellow beings, with my fellow creation. And there's a sense of dividedness in that, you understand that you are different from other people, but that you are connected in that difference. It's a very kind of transcendent, very spiritual, very mystical sort of understanding of things. So bear with me on stage 6 here, guys. Stage 6 is big into community inclusiveness. And when you think of stage 6, think of Jesus. Think of him bringing people together and saying, this is the new way. This is the new covenant. And he brought people together through his commitment to justice and love. And a passion for those around him. So it's very much inclusive. It's a very much well, as it says, universalizing faith. We are all connected. We're all important. I love us. I love you all. Come and hear me and be with me in this faith journey. Whereas the conjunctive faith, it was still a personal thing. It was still okay, I'm still struggling with this. I'm still going through this sort of alone. This brings others in and says, let me teach you what I have learned. Let me teach you where I am. And so that you might be in a greater place. And it's not necessarily a narcissistic viewpoint. It's an inclusive viewpoint. It's a desire to make the world a better place. It's a desire to bring healing to the sick. And it exhibits a self-transcendental quality in which the person shows particular grace and mercy to others. Why is this stage so difficult to get to? Well, how many of us are willing to bring in others as a world entity and accept them and love them, regardless of who they are, where they've been, what they've done, and to preach and teach love and mercy to those people? Why are there so few of these people? Because typically they're martyrs. Typically they move against the grain of society. Again, think of Jesus. His message was one of change, one of radical sort of challenging of the system that had been in place for thousands of years. And he was killed for his message. So people who get to this stage typically are short-lived. Jesus his ministry lasted 3 years in length before he was executed. So, is this really a stage? That's the question. This is more of an ideology for a lot of people. Many people will never get to this stage, let alone almost nobody gets to this stage, let alone stage 5 and sometimes stage 4. In some of Fowler's books, he attempted to provide vignettes and interviews with people who he felt were in the stage 5 and possibly stage 6 range. And the viewpoints that these people provided were very enlightening, but there were so few of them that he could not really get a good sense of what stage 6 was. So really, these individuals are paragons of the faith. These individuals are almost outliers in society. They're rare, few and far between. And so that's why stage 6 is more of an ideal than an actual stage. So that does it for Fowler's faith stages. Please study these in as much depth as you can. Try to bring connections between what we've learned with like Erickson and Piaget and apply it to this theory, because as you probably saw in the midterm, we try to synthesize Fowler's stages with other understandings of development. So if you have any questions on this, would like to discuss this, please feel free to contact me or call me or email me, and I'll be happy to talk with you about this in greater depth, or we can discuss it in our Blackboard Collaborate sessions. But until we meet again, I thank you for your time, and I wish you a wonderful week and good studies.